Welcome back, everybody. See, we got the tractor pulled in the garage here. We're not going to be doing any tractor work today, but we've got some work to do. I want to see what it's going to take for me to weld for the first time, so stay tuned. I'll walk you through that. So until now, I've gotten through life without having to weld anything. I always knew it's something I wanted to learn how to do and something to be really practical to have on a farm or a homestead or just a garage. And we finally have a reason to need it. If any of you follow the channel, we bought a cheap grapple not too long ago, and it's got some problems. I'll walk you through those. But now is the time to weld. So I got to looking. You can get into stick welding relatively cheaply. If I hired someone to come here and weld up something on my grapple or dropped it off to them, it'd probably be a couple $100, maybe more. But I got to looking, and I think I got into welding for less than $100. So the three things you need that you probably don't have is you need a welder. We went with this cheap. This is only $70. It's an inverter welder machine, just a stick welder. See how it works, still unopened. You're gonna need a welding helmet if you don't have one. These can be had from $20 to $30 to $100, whatever you want to spend. And then you're gonna need some electrodes, some stick weld. So 70, 20, and 10. So that's $100. And I'm gonna crack these open and see if it's enough to get me welding. Alright, I figured I'd walk you through the problem before we get into the solution here. So, any of you saw that video, we've got a 48-inch grapple that we bought not too long ago. It was only $1,600, and we're having some fitment issues on the 3-point. See, I just flipped those down, and that was easier than it should have been. So I noticed as soon as I hooked this up, there was a little play in this mount here, and that's within spec. There should be some, but when I set this on the ground, you can see there's some space in here. Ultimately, the problem is, you can see, let me point to it, there shouldn't be a space right here. This gap shouldn't be there. All my other implements, it's much tighter. That's about a 1/4 inch, maybe a little bit more than a 1/4 inch. So my solution is these springed pins are supposed to pick up some of that slop and allow for some machining discrepancies on these mounts, but this one just isn't tight enough. And I was down in the woods the other day cleaning up some brush, and this side seems to be looser than the other side. This side fell off. I noticed it immediately, so I don't think I bent anything, but that's the goal today. I'm gonna flip this off, clean that up, try and weld a bar 1/4 inch 3/16 onto that to take up some of that gap, and hopefully that tightens things up enough for us. So I know if I was going to complain to the dealer or the manufacturer, I bet they'd send me some shims in the mail and say, hey, these will fix it. But I'd still need the welder, but I got some steel on hand here. So my plan is just to try and get this to stick there, and that'll take up most of the gap I'm looking at and tighten things up. This does stick out past here, so we'll just get it together and see what it's gonna do. I might have to trim it up after. I might even need to add some more. We'll see. So I'm not including this in the $100 quote I gave you. I'm assuming you have a few things. If you have a house, barn, garage, tractor, I'm assuming you have an angle grinder, I'm assuming you have safety glasses and a thick leather pair of gloves to protect yourself from the welds. Welding gloves, you can get some cheap ones for 10 bucks. That'll bring you to 110. Safety glasses, you should have those. Alright, we'll do a quick what's in the box here together. So this is a beginner level kit, obviously, and it's kind of designed so you buy this and you shouldn't need anything else. I believe this is a shoulder strap. This thing is so small that you could climb a ladder with it, get to some real tight spots. Got a little, I don't even know what this is called. Like I said, I've never welded. Got a cheap plastic wire brush and hammer thing. Another reason I didn't want to buy a bigger, expensive unit. It takes up room in the garage. This is something I'm going to use maybe a few minutes a year. I mean, maybe I'll fall in love with this and it'll be a new hobby of mine, but really it's just to get me through in a pinch. Yeah, pretty straightforward stuff. Let's get it set up. Well, I'd say after that mess, we can say it works. I'm going to take it right to the grapple now. All right. Well, that leaves a lot to be desired, to be honest, but I assume it's all me. I think someone that knows what they're doing could dial in the settings on this thing and do just fine, but this is on there, and that's all I needed it to do. I needed it to take up space. So I'll keep practicing away and get this cleaned up, slap the other one on here, and see if it fits on the tractor again. So anybody that knows even a little bit more than me, if you care to chime in, I ground the paint down on the other side of this piece so that I'd have a good ground here. Is there any other way to get a good ground on a painted thing like this on a concrete floor? Let me know. But I got plenty of spray paint. It'll be fine. And I did the same thing on this side, so I'll get a good ground. Alright, I'd say I'm almost embarrassed to show you guys how this turned out. But like I said, this was my first one, and you can see there's a weld there. This little GoPro doesn't focus very well, but it's there and it's stuck, which was the important part. This one's maybe even worse. Got overconfident and went faster, but I did the hammer test and they're on there, and that's all we're looking for. We're just looking to fill up the space. So I'll get this cleaned up, hit it with a coat of primer, and then see if we can get it back on the tractor. Hitting it with some brake cleaner to take some dust off. It's still pretty warm. I don't know if I should wait to, well, actually I know I should wait to paint it, but I'm not gonna. I'm gonna see if it's gonna fit, and I'll touch it up later if I'm real worried about rust. This primer I had on hand just about matches the implement. It's gonna be real fancy. Alright, we're back on there. And as you can see, the gap we were worried about did close right up as expected. There's still about a 1/16 in there, but you don't want to be pushing. Still pretty loose on that one. That one's still pretty loose. You see the pins are in there, and they're in there most of the way. The real telltale sign is when we start, yeah, this is a touch more than this is closer to an 1/8 on that side of the gap. But this thing weighs about 250 pounds, so I'm not going to see any play here, but I'll go try to engage the ground or a log or something and see if I notice any wiggle room. Alright, so there's still a little bit more slop in that quick attach than I'd like to see, but it's not going to fall off anymore, so we're in a lot better shape than we were. Now that we have the tools, I know that we can pick at it, adjust as needed, and ultimately make things however we want. I think this video goes to show you can get into the welding business for less than $100. Now that we have those sets of tools, practice over the next 50 years, and maybe you get to make something real presentable someday, but we're just not quite there yet. I'll post a link to those 3 things that I bought in case they pique your interest at all. But yeah, and for any of you that have been following along on the channel, you probably noticed I've been absent for a couple weeks for a number of reasons. I was preparing for a professional licensing exam. We're in the middle of peak whitetail deer hunting season, so we spend quite a bit of our time doing that. My son Jonathan was able to harvest a nice deer not too far from here during youth hunting weekend. And I'm chasing a bigger buck that we got on camera not too far from here as well. So yeah, that's where we're at. We're going to be more consistent moving through as time changes. It's 11:50 in the morning and the sun already feels like it's setting, so winter is just about upon us. We're spending quite a bit of time cleaning up leaves too. So thank you guys for watching. We'll see you at the next one. Take care.